Hello everyone, my name is Mew79. Today I'm back for round 2 of the Manufacturer Series. So as you can see, there are 200 points on offer for first place, so you know, plenty of points up for grabs here. So I'm in the Citroen, and basically the only downfall of this car in this race is the rear tyres at the end just completely die. It's just absolutely crazy how bad the tyre wear can get. So it's just a simple no stop, no need to make a pit stop. So just want to slow down here because we want to get in the slipstream. I'm going to let the Merc through, so hopefully we'll get his slipstream. But again, maybe he'll back off and maybe he'll do some sort of dummy move. So lifting off because we don't want to be too close, as we want to get the slingshot on the main straight. So 15 laps here, so fuel isn't an issue. It's just at the end that your tyres will degrade quite severely, so just be aware of that. And as well, another thing to look out for is turn 1, because if you are not careful you will die. As the Spaniard slows down, it's pretty clear he wants a slipstream as well, so lots of cars going through. And now we're going to try and get in this train of cars. So around the outside of the Portuguese driver, we really need to be about 7/10 away from the car in front of us. So everyone's slowing down here, and I didn't know what to do, so I just braked, and then the car smacks into the back of us, and we're going to get a 1 second penalty. So we're going to go back out. Sorry. So we're going to go back out onto the track because realistically you don't want to have a penalty on your flying lap because you will lose so much time. So it's just me and the Spaniard here, and here I don't know what to do really because blue flags, and then the Brit just smacks into the back of us and we ruin his qualifying lap and we get a 4 second penalty. I will hold my hands up and say that was my fault. I should have ghosted in that situation. So back out on track for the 3rd time, behind the Audi R8 here, so maybe we could try and get a clean lap in this time. But again, it's just going to be down to not messing up, because at this point a lot of people will be coming towards the end of their qualifying run, so the better the run, the better, basically. So just warming up the tyres, because I noticed that in the lobbies it took you a while for you to warm up the tyres. So just cutting the chicane then, we're going to get a 1 second penalty, so we're probably not going to be in the slipstream. So coming around the first Lesmo and into the second, we're going to have to serve this penalty as a Swiss driver sets a 39 dead. So in these lobbies, if you can get in the 38, you will pretty much be on pole position. But obviously the higher up you go, the harder it will be to stick your car first on the grid. So through Ascari, we just want to set up our qualifying lap nicely. So a bit of a wobble on the exit, which sounds a bit familiar to some. Just warming up the tyres because you want to have as much grip as you can. So anyway, through Parabolica, nice and early on the power. We're not going to be in the slipstream with the cars in front, however they are battling, so that is not going to be good for either of them in this race or in qualifying. So anyway, starting the lap. In the Citroen you don't want to rev out the engine, that's one thing I found. If you rev out the engine you will lose maybe the tiniest amount, but in these lobbies anything counts. So anyway, coming through the first corner, just sticking to the inside as much as possible. You don't want to turn in much because you want to keep the speed as high as possible. So through the first chicane, really nice exit, but here, coming into the Lesmos, nailed our braking point, nailed the apex, but then on the exit we just get a bit hairy and we're going to lose about a second there. So if we didn't make that mistake, we would have had the slipstream on this back straight and on the run to Parabolica, and we would have gained about a second. So yeah, it's safe to say that we're not going to start near the front of the grid. So into Ascari, braking just after the tarmac on the right hand side, mounting the curb, and then just kind of waited to go on the throttle, and then going through Ascari. Really nice exit there. You don't want to cut it too much, otherwise you will pick up a penalty. So on the run to Parabolica now, really crucial to get your braking point right, as those two cars in front go side by side. So it's pretty obvious that they're not going to be starting towards the front of the pack. So coming to the line, sticking to the inside, and it's not going to be a particularly great lap. It's going to be a 40.7. So we've completely stuffed our qualifying here, so it's going to be a hell of a task to try and make our way up to the top 5, which is where I want to finish. So anyway, to the start of the race, our brake bias is -3 in this car, as it's an MR car, so the tyre wear will be worse on the rears. So just bear that in mind. And there are two Audi R8s in front of us, so I don't think they're going to stand much of a chance in this race. I don't really see the point of either of them doing it, to be honest. Maybe they're recovering after a bad round 1. So we're going to get a replay camera here, so gaining on the Audi, and this is the most chaotic turn 1 I've ever seen. So count how many cars there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars that went off, so we gained 6 places there, and maybe possibly 7 as we go down the inside of the Ferrari, and he's just going to let us through. So a bit of contact on the exit, but nothing too major. So yeah, up into 8th place. Crazy start. So basically most of the work has already been done for us. So through the second Lesmo, early on the power, and the only other Citroen in the race is now in front of us, so I want to be the lead car in this race, to be honest, because my aim for this season is to be top 10 for Citroen, and the more points I can collect in the races where I know I'm not going to do that well, the better. So just getting a wobble on the exit there, so we're going to lose about a second. So yeah, dropping back down into 9th, so just got to try and tuck in the slipstream of the Ferrari driver here. So into Parabolica, just kind of, there's a Russian on our inside, as there's a Frenchman off the track, and we're going to have to let him go, but that thing has absolutely no top end, so if we just tuck in the slipstream of the Ferrari, we should be able to take it pretty easily. So yeah, he's just receding there because that thing can't do anything. So in the slipstream of the Czech driver, and there's about 3 other cars on the radar, so we've got to be careful of that, but we're gaining so much time here. The gap is just going down and down, and he goes a little bit wide, so I'd say we've gained about half a second there. So into the braking zone, braking just a little bit early because I don't want to smack into the back of him. So he goes a little bit deep, so we're going to go to the right hand side and we're going to send it into 7th place once more. So now what we've got to try and do is catch up with the group in front, because this train basically goes to the lead of the leader effectively. So, you know, the quicker we can catch up the better, as the Swiss driver serves his penalty. So again, it's just down to sticking in the slipstream, and I'm fairly certain he's not in the toe of the cars in front, so he's really got to get the foot down here, because I need him to catch up with the cars in front, because otherwise we are just going to drop off because they have the toe. So into Parabolica, braking just on the 100 board. It's kind of gentle on the power because I didn't want to get on the pedal too early, otherwise I would smack into the back of him. So we've got the toe on the Swiss driver here. It's setting the fastest lap of the race actually, so not too bad. Although albeit it is the second lap, so not much pride there really. So we're on the inside of the Swiss driver here, so we might as well just stick to the inside. He backs off anyway, so we are going to move up to P6. So 9 places gained in 8 laps, which honestly isn't even that bad. Granted, we did get quite lucky with 6 cars going off, but again, we had to avoid spinning off as well. So anyway, catching up to the group in front, I think we can take P5 here because the Citroen is going quite slowly. So into the second Lesmo, really crucial you don't get on the pallet too early and run wide because you will lose lots of time. So next week is Willow Springs, which by far is my strongest track. I can compete, I'd say, with a lot of top split drivers, or second split drivers anyway. So I will have a lap guide on that tomorrow as of when this video is released. As we get a half-second penalty, we just cut the inside of Ascari a bit too much. That is one of the main hotspots of track limit penalties, as well as the second chicane. So anyway, through the final corner, I really love Parabolica. It's just a really nice corner to take. You know, the exit of it as well just makes it so satisfying when you get it right. So again, we lose our fastest lap. I mean, that's not really too big of a deal, but we have the slipstream on the Frenchman here, so perhaps we can try and send it into the first chicane. We are gaining so much time on him. I'd say there's about a 6 mile an hour difference here. So he goes to the outside, we're just gonna have to lift off. He goes to the inside to defend, but we're just gonna back off, and then we're gonna go to the outside, but we're just gonna let him through. No point really hanging it around the outside there. So we're gonna look for a move into the first lesson. Are we gonna get it done? Yes, we are. Just slipping it down the inside into 5th place. So if we could stick here, then that would be absolutely brilliant. But again, I don't think it's gonna happen, as the Swiss driver has a 2-second penalty. So serving our kind of penalty here. So are we going to stay in front of the Swiss driver here? No, we aren't. He's just about going to go through, but we're not going to lose any more places. So, but he goes wide, so we're going to go around the outside and take that position once more. And are we going to get a half-second penalty for cutting the inside? No, we're not. So thankfully we stick in 5th place, but the Aston Martin behind is looking quite potent, so it's going to be tricky to defend, as that thing just has amazing top end. So through Parabolica, not a bad exit, but there's not much you can really do. We might as well just let him go. So just going to the left, we might as well just let him pass. Maybe we can tuck back into the slipstream, and maybe he could tag us along. But here, there's a massive train behind me, so I've got to try and make sure me and this Spaniard try and catch up with the group in front. So there's 3 cars on the radar. We just tapped the Spaniard, so we're going to lose a bit of time as he goes onto the gravel. So we're going to go to the inside, but we just go a bit too hot on the brakes, so we'll have to cut the chicane there. So we are going to pick up a half-second penalty. So again, we're going to have to serve another infraction, if you like. So through the second Lesbo, early on the power once again. You don't want to run any wider, we just get a bit of wobble on the exit, and we're going to have to serve the penalty, and the Spaniard goes through once more. So the Citroen behind has the penalty, so we might as well let him through as well. And now the Portuguese drivers come into play. So this guy, he's in the Mercedes, which is probably one of the best cars for this track because it does have a pretty decent engine under the hood. So if we could keep up with him, then that will be pretty decent. So he goes side by side with the Citroen, and he's gonna hold it, but he's gonna get the cutback, and that's gonna allow him to get a better exit. And so we're gonna stick behind for now, but honestly what I'm hoping happens is the Portuguese driver kind of passes the Frenchman, and then we could follow him through and then maybe try and chase him down and use him for slipstream. So reaching 179 miles an hour there, crazy speeds you could reach there, and we're gonna get massive overspeed, but I don't know where to go. So we're gonna go to the inside of the Portuguese driver, not quite the Frenchman as well. So tiniest bit of contact on the Frenchman, and we're gonna get a 1 second penalty. These penalties really are coming out today, aren't they? So around the outside of the Portuguese, really good racing this, and again side by side, but we're just going to let him go into Lesmo too. So we've got this penalty to serve, so I'm going to go to the right hand side, and I'm going to drop down to 10th. So this is the lowest I've been for quite a long time in this race, but what I need to try and do is gain those places as quickly as possible. So through Ascari, trying to pin the car to the inside as much as possible. So we're just behind the Frenchman here, so hopefully we can try and clear him as quickly as possible, because sticking behind him is no good to us in this race. So into the inside, and we're just side by side, but he gets a really rubbish exit, so hopefully we can drop him into Curva Grande, which on this variation is turn 1. But I prefer the other layout, so the one with the first chicane. So pulling over to the right hand side here, what we've got to try and do is make sure I drop this guy quickly without losing too much time to the cars in front. We've got massive overspeed though on the Audi and the Ferrari, so having to lift off once again and just making a slight bit of contact with the Frenchman. Thankfully no penalty this time, so lifting off and then going to the outside, but there's no point really to do that, as you'll most likely get shut off the track as the Audi spins round and the Ferrari gets a 1 second penalty. So he is going to serve it on this lap, thankfully, so maybe we can get up to P7. But the Frenchman is really holding us up, and he goes quite deep and he gets a really poor exit. So I'm going to go to the right hand side as the Czech driver serves his penalty. I thought he was French there for a second. So on the right hand side, is he going to let us go? Yes he is. He kind of thinks better that we should kind of work together. So get a pretty decent exit compared to the Frenchman, and now what we've got to try and do is pull away, because I don't want this guy using my slipstream any longer. So into Parabolica, brake just after the 100 board, so getting on the power basically before the end of the curve on the right hand side. So just flicking back, the gap's about 8/10, so we have cleared the slipstream range. So on to lap number 8, and we are just going to skip to the final lap, because we were trying to close the gap to the Portuguese driver, but again, all the time we gained in sector 2 and 3, he was just gaining sector 1 because of that bulky boy under the hood. So the gap's about 2 seconds to the German here, but I have noticed that he has dropped off quite a lot in the last few laps. So into the first chicane, clipping the apexes quite nicely. Not the best exit, but again, neither has the Mustang, as that thing is just dead at this point. So through the first lap, so nice and easy through that, and then through the second, pretty nice as well. So we have got to try and, you know, close the gap, but a second in 3 corners is not going to happen unless he makes a massive mistake or gets a penalty at Ascari. So mounting the apex quite nicely, and then just sticking to the inside once more. You know, sticking to the inside is a common theme of this race, as it's a certain activity. So the gap's just over a second, but it's just not going to be enough. So P7 in this race. You know, it could have been much more though if we didn't battle so much in the first part of the race. So If you did enjoy, like and subscribe. Also turn on those post notifications. So again, I will have a lap guide for Below Springs tomorrow, but until then, take care everyone and goodbye.